It's been 3 weeks since the United States reimposed sanctions on Iran in an effort to get the country to curb its nuclear efforts.
The sanctions are designed to hurt the government, but the real pain is being felt by the people who live in Iran. i24 News correspondent Manira Al-Hamoud has the story.
More sanctions. This is what the Trump administration is calling for with Iran. Although the Trump administration is saying it is not targeting ordinary citizens, sanctions covering banking, shipping, and transportation do have an impact on their lives. Everyday items, such as diapers and medicine, are harder to come by as the cost of imported materials increase. These sanctions have already had a detrimental impact on many professions, especially civil servants, retailers, and manufacturers, some of whom have suspended production and laid off workers. In preparation of these sanctions, early signs of economic uncertainty caused Iranians to protect their savings and buy gold and US dollars.
The sanctions are very much hurting ordinary Iranians. Now, the Iranian government has put in some social programs to at least protect the more lower income classes, the more vulnerable portion of the Iranian society. But the middle classes, the working classes, the youth, considering the unemployment rate, the inflation, those are the ones who are going to be impacted by the sanctions.
European nations, meanwhile, have been working with Iran to circumvent the sanctions imposed by President Trump to maintain trade and business ties. Wiring money overseas, for example, is nearly impossible now that the SWIFT, the international banking system, has bowed to U.S. pressure and cut off funds destined to banks to and from Iran. Iran expert Tzvi Kahn at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, or FDD, says sanctions need to be increased. Kahn says Iranian citizens' discontent in the wake of sanctions will lead to more protests against the regime, which will eventually bring Iran to the negotiating table.
The purpose of these sanctions is not to hurt the Iranian people. The purpose of these sanctions is to hurt the regime in Iran. That's the ultimate goal. Now, these sanctions do include humanitarian exceptions, but at the end of the day, our sanctions are going to hurt the Iranian economy. And we know from experience that when Iran faces extraordinary economic pressure, then they respond in kind.
However, Iran remains defiant and unlikely to bow anytime soon, despite a currency that has lost over 2/3 of its value since the beginning of the year.
But there's also the psychological impact, this fear of a worse future that's going to come. And it seems like both sides are trying to play that psychological game. Both governments are trying to play it against each other. The U.S. government is trying to say that they're going to crush the Iranian economy even more than it is actually seems to be going to happen. And the Iranian government seems to be downplaying the actual effects.
Manira Al-Hamoud, i24 News, Washington.